Yo, 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 what up? It's your boy Talis Golem here with another video, and that is right, we are on Fantastical Parade. I've been on the fence about it, thinking about whether I should do, excuse me, whether I should do Fantastical Parade or Mega Shine. We definitely finished Paladin Wonders. In fact, I had a buddy from one of the Poke Trade Hubs that was so nice, giving me a second Nimona for one of my Clemons. Shout out to Yarzard. But we've got 1785 pack points here, and we have pretty much all the crown rares in that set. We could potentially open up another like day of Mega Shine, but I think my energy is better spent on Fantastical Parade, only because I don't have any cards from this set, and I think it's going to be a really good experience for us to just see what it's like to open this pack, because it was one of the packs that we were really heavily missing, and I think I'd like to just try it out and see what happens. This is kind of a weird month for me because this is the month where I decided to spend a little bit of money on myself and kind of enjoy myself, because after the whole boatload of health issues that were going on the past month and a half, I realized that you only really live once, and you got to make the most of it. And actually, I don't want to say too much, but basically, I have definitely more than enough money to do this and also support my daughter, which is really nice. I'm really fortunate to have such a lucky life, honestly. And I hate to toot my own horn about this, but it is true. I feel like I've been very fortunate and blessed, and I think that I need to take that energy and try to use it to make the world a better place. I do think that these YouTube videos are not necessarily like making the world a better place per se, but it's a way for me to at least de-stress and have a conversation with people that enjoy watching YouTube videos, because I do like to talk about things in like a very philosophical sense, in a meaningful sense, and it makes me, it's almost therapeutic in a way, right? It makes me feel better, because there's so many hardships in life. There's so many things that people go through, and when you get stuff that happens to you like every decade, as each day goes by, you get more and more health issues or more and more diagnoses, and you just have to either be like, you can either suffer and be miserable, or you can just be happy with life and what life brings you, because the truth of the matter is there's not a single person in the universe that has lived forever, right? If you think about that, there's been, I know that there are some people on YouTube who say the first person to live forever is already alive today, and that may be true, but it hasn't been proven yet, and it's going to be very hard to prove something like that, right? At least in the current dimension that we're in, since we're like, I guess you could say we're in the fourth dimension where time moves at a rate that we perceive it to move. I was on Reddit earlier today, and I was reading this post that somebody made about, I don't know the exact details, I don't remember the person, but it was somebody that basically, so they like were in a coma for 2 weeks or something like that. They were induced in a coma because of an accident, and in this coma, this lady lived like an entire lifetime, like years and years, in a dream, like a very vivid dream, where she had 3 kids and she knew the names of these children and she had an entire life with them, and then she woke up from the coma, and she became depressed because she realized that all of those vivid memories in her life were in this world or whatever that she was dreaming was like fake. It was like, it was not real. It was just in her mind when she was having the coma. And that was something that I read. I'm like, what? That's really interesting, because what is reality, right? And in her mind, that was a reality that was so vivid that, at least in that universe, all of those things were true. And for all we know, we could be in that type of universe too, right? It's like there's no way to really prove these things. We can use all the math and physics we want, but the the truth of the matter is, like, it's very hard to prove something like that. Um, in fact, like, I always think back to, like, I guess in the comic books, right? Like, I don't know if this is a really good analogy, but just thinking about Doctor Strange and how, he was, if you don't know the Marvel comics, he's like the time wizard or whatever, and he's got like all this power and stuff, and he can pretty much do, like, at his peak, he could pretty much do whatever he wanted, right? Um, but it's just funny because it's like like, if you ever watch the actual movies, not literally, but he figuratively shaped his own reality. You can say that it was magic or whatever, but in some sense of the world, there is a, ooh, nice, a rainbow rare mega swampert EX. Um, there is a universe where where the possibilities are endless. And it is what it is, a curious thing to think about those sorts of things, about our realities and how, maybe in a different timeline, I didn't have cancer, right? Maybe in a different timeline, I didn't have Sjogren's. Maybe in a different timeline, all these other things could have been true. But the fact of the matter is that where I am right now, I'm in a pretty good place. Like, I'm happily married. I have a daughter. Um, Someone who has been so fortunate. I don't think I would exchange that for anything. Um, I think that if it's very interesting, to think about the realities of the situations and stuff. I think if there were a higher being like God or Mother Nature, and they gave me the option, right, to live a better life than I have now, or stick with the one I have now, I don't think there is a better option. I think this is the thing is, like, it's hard to say, right? It's really hard to say, but at the very least, I can say this: I don't really have any regrets. I don't think there's anything in this world that I really feel like super bad about. Yeah, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has things in their past that, they're not really happy with. But at the end of the day, like, we live in a world where, um, if you ever heard of the butterfly effect, like, if one small thing in your world, in your life, is different, then the entire world could be different, right? So if, like, one small thing changed in this timeline, then it could have caused a cascade of a bunch of things being different. So, like, if things didn't work out the way that they worked out, I might not have met my wife, and that would be completely devastating. It wouldn't be. I mean, it would be devastating, but it would be like, it would just be a different timeline, right? It would be like, I love my family. I love everything that I have right now, and I wouldn't want to give that away for what, to, like, have one cell be different than the other. It's just interesting to think about all these different possibilities and realities. And yeah, it's kind of an interesting thought experiment. Like, if you were to go to sleep and maybe not fall into a coma, but, like, have a little bit of a glimpse into another timeline, and then the universe said, well, you know what, here's this timeline. You can either stay in this timeline forever or go into your old timeline. What would you choose, right? Of course, a lot of people would probably not want to be in this timeline due to the political or socioeconomic whatever. There's a lot of things going on in the world. But that's something that I could say today. It's something I could have said years ago. It's something that you could say pretty much at any given point in the universe. There's a lot of things going on in the world, and that could honestly just be true, right? Um, so it is important to think about these things because, um, I'll be honest with you, like, science and technology is getting more and more advanced. We're creating a world with artificial intelligence. We're creating a world where we are starting to utilize the research that we've done into quantum mechanics, um, and string theory. Like, all of those things were just theoretical decades ago, right? But now, who knows? I mean, the government or other countries or, secret societies, intelligence, they could be using some of these theoretical models as real world applications. Like, I mean, to paint you a little picture, right? We think about these things sometimes where we invent based on like science and discoveries, right? Like, so we use math to do stuff with like computers. Well, what about all this like super complicated stuff in the world that we've concocted, like with string theory and quantum mechanics? Like, you don't think that people are not like actively using those theoretical things that we've discovered, things that like I can't imagine or that you can't fathom? I'm sure there's someone out there that's applying those concepts. It's called applied physics, right? It's called applied physics for a reason. So it is very interesting to think about those things. How the world is constantly evolving. I wouldn't necessarily say it's better or worse. I would say the technology is more advanced, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that the world gets better with technology. I think that the whole I don't want to make too much of a comment on artificial intelligence, but it's pretty obvious that a lot of people are not happy about it, right? It's pretty obvious that not a lot of people are happy about it, and a lot of people would argue that this is a perfect counter example to make the assertion that the world doesn't get better with technology. Maybe the world gets worse with technology, or maybe it just gets sidetracked with technology, right? I'm sure that when guns were invented, that didn't make the world a better place necessarily, right? When more like technological advances in warfare get created, that doesn't necessarily make the world a better place. So whether the world is better or worse with technology, I don't think we can make those assertions anymore. It's no longer like very clear cut. Society is just simply different than what it was before. And it's really hard to say what would an alternative reality be like, because we don't have the conception of that other reality. We simply live in our own reality, our own timeline, right? So these are all really interesting things that I've always thought about them. I don't really give them too much thought, but with each moment of existentialism and free thought, you always have to wonder about these things, right? There's not really like a shot. Where is this coming from? All right, well, I'm not gonna say no to a Crown Rare Meloetta. That's pretty cool. Um, that got me. I completely threw me off. What was I saying before? Yeah, wow. It's just very interesting to think about all these thought experiments and how the world is beautiful in some ways, but also can be not as beautiful in other ways, or maybe dangerous, or like there's so many different adjectives that you can use to describe the universe right now. To say that they cancel each other out, that say that they're neutral, I wouldn't necessarily say that would be the case. I think that it's a lived experience, right? Um, it's a lived experience, and we try to experience the world as much as possible. And I think that inherently that is a good thing, right? I could be wrong about that, but I think that it's better to live a life than to not have those experiences, because it's part of existentialism, or just being, or ontology, or whatever you want to call it. Just very interesting things to think about. How much more of this do we have? I feel like we've been opening packs for a while now, and I've just been eating up on the time, just to chat about random junk. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here. I want to just see how many more packs we have left. I was surprised we got a Meloetta today. I was not expecting that. Let me see. Okay, we got another last 10 pack magic. Can we get a last 10 pack magic here? I was not expecting a Meloetta. We could get I was kind of hoping we could get something good from this set. Meloetta is as good as it gets, pretty much. I also wouldn't mind a protective. It's called a protective poncho. I don't know the exact. I used to call it the invisible cloak, but I guess that's not correct either. It's like I could think it's called invisible protective poncho or something like that. It's the other crown rare. I just see it as a blue jacket. I think that would be a pretty cool crown rare to have because it's pretty neutral and like you could probably put that in whatever deck you wanted, right? I don't think that the card itself is like completely busted. I don't think it's like an incredibly overpowered card. I think it's cool that it's a crown rare. I don't think it's necessarily good or bad. I don't know if it's crown rare worthy, but anyway, that's going to be a wrap for today. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord. We are going to be doing a giveaway in the summertime, so stick around for that, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.